Welcome to the Wellness on Tap podcast with your host, Dr. Debs Eastwood.
This morning, I am doubly honoured. I have the fabulous Tasha Ponton back for round 2 with her both life and business partner, Chris Marsh, who you've also met previously. So the main reason that I wanted to interview you two guys together is because not only do you independently run your own businesses and perform your own forms of healing, but you come together. And I know I am not going to be the only person that wants to know how that came about. So I feel as though I'm going to be seriously indulged here, and I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the story in whichever way you guys feel you want to tell it.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, no, I'll start.
You lead.
Thank you.
So Tasha and I met on a shamanic practitioner course. So it's a training course, learning shamanic practice, learning all of these ancient techniques to do deep spiritual healing, essentially. And this was 2021 in the second lockdown that we had. So we were doing it on Zoom, and then Tasha and I kept getting put together to practice the techniques we were learning. Didn't think much of that really. And then the first clue I got as to there was something going on with our connection, other than thinking, why does Tasha and I always get put together in the practice sessions? Mm-hmm. So Tasha's a sound healer, as part of what she does, as you know. So Tasha's playing the bowl on Zoom with mute on. And my body's going, I'm like, what? Why can I feel that? Now, I knew this sound because I was a Reiki practitioner at that time, so I knew energy transcends time and space. So I'm like, whoa, hang on, that's interesting.
The interesting thing is that sound and vibrational medicine, it amplifies the person who's doing it, their energy. So
it's getting double dose.
So he was connecting with my energy, and that's why it was so potent, which we'll get to, why that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And so they never thought too much about it. I thought, well, maybe we've got some kind of spiritual connection, maybe we have some past lives together, something like this. Didn't think too much deeply into it. And then post lockdown, the course then moved to in person. So with our trainers, House Stacey, and she got this wonderful big room with lots of sofas that we all did the training in. And when we do the training, you know, there's lots of ceremony, there's lots of work going on. So a couple of friends were channeling, and there's energy moving all around the room, and I'm sat feeling all this energy shifting in my body, and Tasha's sat in the corner, so I'm kind of facing this way. Tasha's over here to my right, and so I hear my guides almost like my voice in my head when they're communicating with me. So I just heard, "Go hug Tasha." I'm like, "What? Go hug Tasha." Shut up! Can't go hug Tasha. Go hug Tasha. I'm like, "Can't hug Tasha. Go hug Tasha." And it just like got faster and faster and faster and faster. I'm like, all right, I'm listening. I'm going to go hug Tasha. So Tasha's in tears in the corner.
Well, I'd already played my drum. And again, it was another physical reaction you had.
Well reminded, actually. Yeah. So just before that, Tasha's got this big buffalo drum that's pretty powerful anyway. When she played it, my heart went, like somebody just pulled the plug out of it. So like, whoa, what is that? And so I go over to hug Tasha as the guides instructed.
The day we met in person, just on the same course.
As you do.
Yeah.
When the guys say to do something, you've got to listen and do it. You've got to trust it. So I hugged Tasha, and literally it was like an electric shock just shot from my toes all the way up to my head, and my head just fizzled, and I was like, what the is that?
Yeah.
And I was just like dumbfounded, really. It's almost like just suddenly this massive emotion poured out of my chest. And I was just literally in shock almost, really, thinking, what in the world was that?
So profound.
What did you feel? Do you remember at the time?
Well, there was a lot going on because our teacher had just started, like I'd revealed something from the sharing circle, So more about my sort of spiritual self. That was quite big information. It's quite hard to understand. And then she started channeling to me. This sort of, her guide stepped in and started channeling light language, which is something that we channel now. And it was quite profound. So that's what had triggered this whole thing was, and then our friends started channeling and started going into a ceremony. And I'm sitting there crying because this realization on a soul level of this information that had come through was kind of wild. So I was in this place of,
I guess we probably couldn't discern what was what. Could we, really,
exactly.
guess,
And it was just this moment. And I do remember feeling like really like it was, I felt really safe. Like someone would come to, you'd come in and seen it. It was sort of like comforting. It made me feel nice. It was like, I felt really safe.
Yeah.
It just felt natural. Just
and
really
of course,
weird.
Then we just carry on with the class.
Yeah.
And we talked about what's happening and explained. And Stacey, our teacher, has this way of looking at you. When she knows something, she's not telling you.
Yeah, straight through you to your soul.
Hang on, Stacey knows something here. And so the day carried on. Really, we did the rest of the day and the training. And at the end of the day, when it came to say our goodbyes, I'm still looking at Tasha, and I just felt this overwhelming love for her, and I couldn't really explain it. And I kind of said to Tasha, it's a bit like, I had a female cousin we were really close with when we were kids, and then we got to teenage, it was quite awkward. So I still had the love, but we were awkward and didn't know how to express it. But I kind of feel like that. It's like, why do I feel this intense love for this person I've only met in person today and only known for 4 or 5 months or something at that time? I'm like, I don't understand it, but this is how I feel. So I was quite open about how I felt with Tasha. And it just couldn't
Hadn't used
it.
the word love at that point because that came later.
I think I said I feel love. I didn't say the words.
Yeah,
but
that
I
came
feel
later.
it.
Then the next month came along, didn't it? We had next class because it was monthly. So the next class was the
next class was in the woods. So we were in the woods in Gainsborough.
Had COVID come through at that point?
Okay, yeah.
Then because a few days later after.
So a few days after that, we both tested positive for COVID. I didn't have any symptoms, but my son had it, so I tested. And you physically had it, didn't you?
Oh, I had really bad. Yeah. That head was going to explode, and it was horrible. Days of isolation.
Yeah, so we just started chatting, and we were chatting on Messenger, and I'd got a painting that was like a soul painting that I had done that was painted with my guides and things. And I was asking Tasha about what it meant and some of the things on there, and she was helping me out. We just started to start a journey together, didn't we?
Well, we were talking on the phone because I was on my own, and we were just chatting. And I just looked at the phone. I was like, "Oh my god, we've been talking for an hour." Like I thought it was like 2 minutes, and we just had this sort of connection. And you were like, "I'll do some healing. I'll do a journey for you if you're not well." And you'd got all this information around, and I think it was connected to some. Meditation you'd done, but he was like underwater and it had come back again.
That was it. Yeah. So in my meditation practice, a couple of years before maybe, I was shown this vision of an underwater city. And I'm like, well, this is interesting. I just didn't think much of it. I just thought, you get wide and wonderful things in meditation sometimes. And then when we were talking, it just came back. And I think we were journeying together, and I'd seen the same underwater city, essentially.
So you'd remembered it was connected.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right again.
And I think at that time, you got the information, and your guys were like, Chris has got to find out for himself.
Did I? I can't remember that bit, but that does ring a bell.
So I think you, through me triggering that, then you talking about it and you journeying on it, then you got the answer of what that meant. And then they're like, no, you can't tell Chris, he's going to see it because he won't believe it. And then that led to the next training, wasn't it?
So that's when we're in the woods.
In the woods.
And so we did a class in the woods. And I can't remember what happened in that class, but at the end of that class, we knew there was a connection. And I saw people in class talking about it as we were sitting together chatting.
They were looking at us, smiling at us.
They were like, well, what are they? All right, let's just journey. Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun? Let's do it. So
because Stacey looked at me at the end and she just went, you and Tasha have got a lot of work to do. And like Stacey's voice changes when she's channeling. I'm like, okay, yeah, I think I know that. I appreciate that. Yeah. And then that led to the journey.
Yeah, so
the journey.
we met on Zoom because I'm in London. Chris is up here.
I was in my office in Leeds at the time.
Leeds,
yeah.
And so we do this journey. So to explain what that is, that's when you use drumming.
Just read my mind.
There we go. Use drumming to connect. It's also like a trance state.
Yeah,
and
so the rhythm of the drum creates that. Takes your mind into the alpha state, the hypnotic state, essentially.
Yeah, and that's where you can connect to past lives. You can. It's a bit like active meditation, is what I like to call it. And this is part of the training, is to be able to do this. So let's look at our past lives. Let's journey together and see what comes up. So we start journeying, and we're getting visuals, and we're seeing the same thing. So he'll be saying something, and I'll be seeing the same thing, and vice versa. And so we're saying, "What are you seeing?" And what we were seeing was we were mermaids.
Fish people.
Mermaids.
Fish people.
I was male mermaid. Yeah. And we're in this underwater city. And I remember Chris saying, it's a ceremony here. Some sort of like wedding ceremony or something.
And or whatever they would have called it in this planet, time, place.
And we knew, because we'd already connected with other beings in other dimensions, and interdimensional, multidimensional beings as part of the training, the different beings and energies that we connect with, the spirit guides. And one of that type is galactical energies, so different beings from different planets, and understanding that our souls, especially our souls, have lived in many different places, different times, like all of us, but we were connecting with our multidimensionality. And this was the mermaid planet or dimension. And so we're seeing the same thing, and we see this beautiful ceremony. And then we see us working spiritually together.
Yeah, so
teaching together.
Working, teaching, training people, helping people ascend spiritually, essentially, in this planet. And very much closely working together, but being a couple as well.
Yeah. And then disaster struck. And I'm taken away, and I'm harpooned and murdered. Yes, it's
very dramatic.
Very dramatic. And Chris is taken into exile and controlled and not given any freedom. And there's certain aspects to what we'd experienced that resonated with our own human experience in terms of what we'd seen ourselves. And then we're like, right, let's clear both of our own sides of this and release this, which is what we do every day with our clients, is release this. We acknowledge that it's in the subconscious. Yeah. This isn't going to affect us anymore. So let's release this.
Essentially, it's releasing that past life karma, essentially, that can play out in your current life.
You don't need to keep reliving any aspects of it.
To relive it.
And then we see sort of all this merging of stuff, and I kept hearing the word. Now, I'd heard this phrase, but I didn't really understand what it meant. It'd come up before, and I was like, that's curious. It'd come up when I'd done my own past life clearing, which I could come back to. But anyway, I'm keep hearing the phrase twin flame, like repeated in my head like a guy. And I think to myself, well, that's awkward. I'm just going to keep that to myself. And then Chris goes, I'm getting twin flame.
Well, for me, I mean, I was getting the same thing, twin flame. And a bit like when I was getting Tasha, I'm like, I can't not say anything because it was just repeat. No, I had read about it. It came up in a mediumship reading I'd had a couple of years before. I'm like, what's that? So I started to read about it, learn about it, research about it, and I didn't really think much of it. And I thought, I'm going to have to say something. So I said, the guys are saying this. The guys are saying twin flame. And Tasha just laughed and said, me too.
So what's the significance of that then? I mean, I can guess, but...
So we did some journeys around it as well to try and understand it at a deeper level. But so essentially, what we were shown in a journey was our souls were split from the same source, essentially. In it's difficult to put these things in human concepts, really. So, I get shown things visually often. So it's like almost like two cells dividing. Mm-hmm. So we're connected to the same source energy, or it could be we're split from the same root, however you want to describe it. But essentially what it means is we have a very deep, close spiritual connection.
Yeah, and we vibrate at similar frequencies or the same frequencies, but that can also, so that means that we are very similar in how we feel. I think we're obviously our own sovereign beings, but it can mean that we mirror each other's shadows and light, but it's a frequency thing.
Very close and very similar in some ways, but they're complete opposites in other ways. Yeah. So So before we go into the detail of what that means from a physical perspective, it's like we're the highest reflection of each other's trauma, highest reflection of each other's behaviours in many ways. We're very similar in other ways too. And even to the point, some of our friends comment we look similar and we've got a similar kind of energy. I mean, some of our friends in the shamanic community, they can't tell our energy apart. When you connect energy, they can't see where one starts and the other ends. So that's quite interesting.
I say that's quite beautiful.
Now, from a human perspective, what happened from that point was quite interesting. So what we understand now through talking to other people who were twin flames and had similar experiences, it's the physical touch that activates it. So in that moment where I hugged Tasha, and I felt that feeling, that's what suddenly brought all the remembrance from a soul perspective back.
Then we had another version of that after that journey. So we did that journey and it was only the next week. So I then gave Chris an online healing and the day before next class. And that was very
hugely powerful, actually. Hugely powerful. I think that was where I saw more of the galactic history, and particularly around the planet we mentioned is called Sirius B. So a lot of people heard of Sirius B. It's one of the brightest stars in the sky. So it's a water planet. So Tasha and all the friends in the course call them mermaids. I'm like, no, fish people.
He's embraced it now. He likes to joke.
Then they all took the mickey out of me when I first said mermaid. She went, Chris said mermaid. But that next class was where we learned about plant medicine. And that's not the deep psychedelic plant medicine. It's just learning to connect to plants energetically and work with them from a spiritual perspective, energetic perspective, as well as physical. So we're working with cacao that day. So cacao, obviously a lot of people understand and know about that now. It's a heart medicine, both energetically and physically. And so how we work with it shamanically is we connect to the spirit of the plant. We ask the spirit of the plant to work with it. So you get a much deeper connection by working in that way. And we meditate and work with the plant. And I've had some really intense visions of meditating with cacao. It's obviously very aligned for me.
Well, it's part of our practice now. We now supply and work with cacao on a daily basis, and it was part of our coming together.
And that day, I had a huge Kundalini awakening, essentially.
I knew it was going to happen when I did your healing. I was like, it's coming.
And that's what Tasha had to do the healing before, to kind of clear the energy for that to happen. And it's like nothing I've ever experienced. It was literally, I was just buzzing. And the day after I did an event, and people were saying, "My God, Chris, you look so young, so vibrant. Your energy is so good. You look so great today. Oh, you look so smooth, so energetic." I'm like, yeah. So after that, then we did the cacao meditation, and that's where it's fair to say we sank into our own little plane of existence in that moment.
Yeah, it's even like that. But we had a lot of processing and healing. But you'd had a Kundalini awakening, and then I felt my guide step in to me, and I looked at Chris and I said, "You need to surrender to something." And we were all in like a group of people for a class, right? Mm-hmm. And then he pulls my back towards his front, and that's another physical activation. I felt all of our chakras connect, clunk, 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 literally like that. And suddenly I was like, and it was this deep feeling of being at home. Suddenly I was like, like a feeling I've never had before. It was like something had been missing.
It's almost like coming home is how I describe it. It's like being away at university and coming home and feeling safe, feeling secure, feeling connected.
Like everything's going to be all right now on this multiple level. And it was just crazy in front of this whole load of people. But
we ended up in a bell tent, sat in the tantric position, fully clothed, by the way, just iterate, and just sat in that energy for what felt like 8 hours, really. I mean, I don't know how long it actually was, but almost just feeling that energy and feeling that connection, that safety, and I think actually I'd met Stacey before that class on the night. I went to meet Stacey, our teacher, to say, this has come up, and my guide said Twin Flame, and she went, "About effing time."
She knew the first time it come on screen, she went, "Oh no," knowing that it can cause chaos. Once it's like a running train. You can't stop it in whatever way it needs to land.
It's incredible. I mean, and after that day, I could literally, physically feel Tasha's energy around me. It's like we could project our energy to each other. So it almost feel physical, like Tasha was sat next to me.
We could telepathically talk, connect to each other, just like that.
Yeah, and literally I could have a conversation as though Tasha was stood in front of me telepathically, and we could talk, and it might sound crazy, people, when we talk about it, but it's the most intense thing. And you know, I've always been very open to stuff, and obviously, I'm always skeptical until I've seen and experienced things. When I've seen and experienced it, I'm like, great, fantastic. I'm always open to anything. I've always been open. But until I've seen and experienced it, then I'm like, okay, yep, now I've seen that. I know that's right. Okay, I can trust it. And it was just the most unbelievable experience, wasn't it? And just being able to think about you and just feel the energy as though she was with me. And we just started to play around with it, really, ultimately. And it just kept spiraling from there. And it got to the point where in that class, we did a meditation and journey with sage, which is it's sage is used for cleansing energy, clearing negative energy,
calling in the spirits as well.
Yeah, so we both again saw the same journey. We saw ourselves teaching shamanic practice, teaching people spiritual development, and I'm like, wow. Well, if we're doing that together, we're going to end up being together then. And from there, it was just a snowball effect. What was that? July?
That was July, and then by September, I had moved across the country with my daughter and moved in with him.
But I guess with something as profound as those experiences that had kept coming and building on themselves, there wasn't the fear there in the way that potentially would be in a...
Not at all.
It was you just knew. Just knew this was, I don't know how you're going to make it work, but it's got to, that it's just a knowing of like, because of the synchronicities and the way you feel and everything, how the way it came together. That's why it's important to say the different stages, because it wasn't just like I like that guy and I'm going to, it was something else that I've never experienced before.
It was like a magnetic force that was just pulling us together at this extraordinary rate of knots. And it's like, you just couldn't pull us apart, could you? You just couldn't resist it. No. And since we've talked to other twin flames about their experiences, good and bad, they all talk about this same pull, this same sense of like constantly being in each other's energy, constantly being on each other's mind, and and that was just 24/7 until we moved in together, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it can be, we're lucky that we're both healers and do what we do it with therapists. We do what we do because I think a lot of these people that connect with their twin flames, they can't sustain it because it's that mirror of your greatest shadows as well. So it can go into toxicity because the pain, when we're arguing, like just looking at each other can be painful. Like it's so strange. And even though everything's going to be right, and you've got to work through, because it's your deepest wounds. And they're being exposed, not through malice, just through the way that it all unfolds. And it is really important to work on your own healing, to come with love and honesty and sovereignty, and just be really caring about yourself and the other person, and just because it can go into toxicity if not handled properly.
Really hard, like obviously we've both done our own healing and therapies before coming into the shamanic class, and the shamanic teaching is all about self-healing as well. So everything we learn, we have to use it on ourselves, and we have to do it every day between classes. So we'd obviously got to the point where we were able to be together. And from the books I'd read about twin flames and some of the people I've met along the way, it can just be like a volcano going off for some people, because, like Tasha said, you're the highest reflection of each other's traumas. So you absolutely trigger that deepest rooted fear or trauma or anxiety or reactions in each other. And so, traditionally, historically, until fairly recently, that was the experience of twin flames. It came together, it was intense, it was really intense in every single way you can imagine, and then to get apart, they'd have to.
It can't be sustained.
They just couldn't stay together. It was just too intense in every way. And they'd go on the way, but would always still have that connection, always still have that together. And we know twin flames that have kind of come together in a similar way to us and got together very quickly and stayed together. We know twin flames that were kind of on a different stage of their healing. So they had to come apart for the other one to catch up, and then they come back together again. So
not all twin flames are meant to be together like we know we are, but some they're meant to just activate each other's spiritual journey in one way or another. So it can just be a catalyst for something else, and then they go off in another direction. Some twin flames are not the sort of typical male female want to be, it's not
going to be same sex.
So yes, it can come in many different ways, but it always is about your own spiritual, energetic, personal growth in one way or another, or getting you onto the path that you're meant to be on. And the past life that I connected to myself, the only thing I really knew about twin flames was I opened my own Akashic records before I was doing, I think I'd agreed to go on the shamanic course, but not started. And I somehow managed I did a meditation to open my Akashic records, which is...
to explain what that is.
Yeah, I was just going to think, how do I explain this succinctly? It's like a library of information in the etheric realm of everything
that's ever happened.
Everything that's ever happened, everything that will happen. It's like an etheric, energetic, spiritual library that anyone has access to. Everyone has their own chamber or chambers that they can connect to through the subconscious. One way to explain it.
Okay.
But I'd gone in there and seen this past life that was very intimately graphic, and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. What is this in a place time I didn't recognize? And I was like, why am I viewing this? This is like I just clicked onto something I wasn't meant to click onto. And then I just got, this is your twin flame. You may or may not meet them in this lifetime. And then there was a lot of reasons why that was very emotional for me. And I was crying and crying and crying. Now that we've worked out that experience that I had was just before Chris was deciding, was he going to go on the course or not? So it was actually it was true. He could have chosen not to go on that course. I'd already booked on. I was one of the first people, I think. And he was, you were just in between deciding. It was in that moment. And it was like this, because we all have free will, but we'll be pushed into the right path for us, or things will come in for us
to. I mean, it's interesting that a little bit after that, we obviously we were journeying regularly together, and we're connecting with other galactic beings. In this journey, I was told that hundreds of beings have been working together behind the scenes to put us together. And I'm sat in the journey thinking, oh, hundreds of beings, that's nice, isn't it? That's nice, isn't it?
No pressure there. No pressure.
And then we thought about it later on, and we're like, hundreds of beings. It's like, to get us on the same course at the same time in Lincolnshire, when Tasha lives in London and I live in Doncaster. And the people that we met that got us to meet Stacey, our teacher, as well. And it's funny that the guy that I met that knew Stacey, so he's another shamanic healer, and he was at an event in Lincoln, and we're chatting away. And a big, huge bear of a guy from South Africa. And he offers to give me a healing. He says, yeah, fantastic, I come for a healing. Yeah, I'm really interested, because he was just drawn to it. And he lived near Birmingham, so I'm driving to this back end street in Birmingham. It was really rough. We're going to see this huge bear of a guy that used to be a Hell's Angel. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm like, going, lovely guy, this guy, Kev, really lovely guy. I had a great session with him, great healing. And he was the one that connected to me to say something like, right, I've got to learn this. I've never seen him at that event again. He's never been up that far again since.
All of this meant to be.
And it obviously, he was pushed to come there to see me for whatever reason. And then similar with you and the people you connected to.
I went on various different explorations myself, and went on this journey course about dragons, as you do, and learning about dragons. And there was someone on that course that was just been training with her, and she was like, you've got to do it. And I was just compelled to do it. And I thought, if I knew I had to travel, I probably wouldn't have booked on that one, because there would have been the human side that would have found reasons not to. But it was online, and I was like, great. And then she shifted it to in person, and I was like excited by that, because I've done 6 months. This is changing my world, changing my life. And it was just an incredible journey, really, for us to come together.
It was amazing. And then the things we've learned spiritually, I said earlier, Debs, I'm a healthy skeptic. I like to get evidence of things. And so Started a course, I already met my spirit guides, I was a Reiki practitioner then, I was getting lots of mediumistic things would come through, I was giving Reiki sessions, so it's really deep in the spiritual side of my life by then. But then Tasha and the other people in the course talking about dragons and fairies and mermaids. I'm like, wait, I'm down with spirit guides, I've drawn a line of dragons, fairies and mermaids, hang on.
For now.
Indeed, yes.
But actually it was one of the early healing sessions I did with Tasha that I saw dragons.
Yes.
I'm like, I can see your dragons. Then later on I realised they were my dragons.
I think they were your dragons.
Hello. So we see, should explain, we see dragons as like they're like kind of angelic in energy. They're like spiritual beings, work as guides. The dragons are the things that push you forward and push you into your purpose and your path.
I have a thing for dragons.
There's a reason why they're a lot in popular culture now, is because people, writers, creatives, whoever are downloading, they're connecting to their dragons and they're downloading this information for the benefit of the planet, because dragons help us ascend.
This is a concept for us.
Coming in for years, isn't it?
The people who wrote How to Train Your Dragon, Game of Thrones. I believe all creativity is channel. It's like I believe there's no disconnect between your subconscious mind and your higher self. So when we get into that creative flow, I believe it's coming from our souls, from our higher selves. So it's just kind of normalizing that in our culture, and then that led into then connecting to the galactic beings and the different planets and beings. And so so Tasha and I found out our souls have existed in lots of different planets and lots of different galaxies,
together and separately.
Yeah, together and separately, and again, energetically, that is part of how we heal, using those energies, using that knowledge and guidance that we're given all the time. And more, again, people are recognizing and connecting to that through their own spiritual journeys and through their own visions, meditations, experiences that they can't explain. So then they're going out to try and research about it and find out more information. So it's been a wonderful journey for us connecting to that and understanding more about it. And then being able to help other people then on the journey of remembrance, really, isn't it?
Well, we know through our personal journey that we've shared is that part of why it's so important for these hundreds of beings or whatever getting us together is that part of our mission in this life is to help others ascend, specifically at this time in history where a lot of people are awakening to their own version of spirituality, whatever that is. For us, it's not about a guru sort of like, this is the way. It's like, what's your way? What's your way to freedom? And there's more to life than just this physical 100%. Reality, and it can set you free. Yeah, I
mean, we're firm believers that everybody's equal. And we're all just on a journey. Whether you are on that journey is just fine. It doesn't matter if we're a little bit ahead of somebody else. Everybody can get to where we get to and beyond. So, how, like Tasha said, how we teach is it's helping people find their way of working with spiritual concepts that we've learned. But we're a firm believer anybody can do it. And I don't come from a spiritual background. My mum dabbled with tarot a bit when she was in her 40s and used to have readings when I was younger. But, you don't need to come from a spiritual background. You don't need to, wear ponchos and purple trousers and crystals around your neck to be spiritual. It's like, it's a way of living life, really.
Absolutely.
If you want to do that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I do have spiritual tattoos. So it's finding your way, really, to work with it. And, this is how I dress when we do retreats. I wear hoodies, I wear shorts, jeans, tracky bottoms, trainers. I come with it in my authentic way of being. And it's just finding your unique way to work with it. So similar to we all have different imaginations physically, we all have different ways of working and connecting with spirit guides. So I might see things really visual and really intensely in that way. You might really feel and experience it, or you might get a strong sense of knowing, or the words might come into your mind. We're not always going to see the magic sky wizard in front of us.
No.
And so I actually did, though.
You did?
I actually did. That's my spirit guide I saw at the end of my bed when I was 19, this wizard. I did actually see it, and it scared the bejesus out of me.
I'm sure.
And they shut everything off. So that's why they don't just appear in front of you, because
you're
scared
the bejesus out of you.
Yeah, I love it.
Try so hard not to swear on your podcast.
You're doing very well, Chris. I'm impressed.
We're quite sweary.
And so, you know, when we teach, it doesn't mean you're going to be a healer or medium. It's just finding a way to use spiritual practice to connect into your purpose and live your life in a more authentic way that aligns with you, you know, aligns with your soul and what makes you feel joy. So we've got friends we train with, you know, there's a guy who's a Tai Chi instructor, there's a lady who's an artist, a lady who's a film director, and they're bringing shamanic practice into what they do. Yeah, nurses, end of life care. So it's going back to these traditional ways of working in all these different elements of modern life. Oh, another friend who's a politician as well. She's a counsellor.
But this is the point, is that it's not just for people that are healers or using it in mediums. It's, you could work in a bank or work in infrastructure that's really important in our modern society. And if you are empowered, know your spirit guides, have raised your energy, are living an aligned life, what difference could you make in the world? And that ripple effect. And that's why we do what we do, not to just make more carbon copies of us, for you to find empowerment in your own way and to understand the universe, because we all have these questions of
100%.
What's the meaning of life, and where do we come from, and how many, and looking out to the stars. We all do that as a child. We look out to the stars and we go, how many stars and how many, we can't just be the only
Star Trek and Star Wars.
we can't be the only people here. Like they say, well, of course we can't. That's actually the least likely outcome, is that we're the only sentient beings. Well, we're not. And like we talked about the downloading of information about dragons, you can see it in all fairies and their nature spirits. They live in the forest. And like you just mentioned Star Trek, that's actually how, from my understanding, there's a star system called the Pleiades, and they have this sort of exploration like Star Trek. And Star Wars is very much, there's a lot of it that's very much like Orion, and there's a lady.
Wars that have happened.
Yeah, there's a lady. If anyone wants to explore more of this in their own time, there's a lady called Debbie Solaris who is a mix of us. Debbie Solaris, who is a galactic historian, and she has so I mentioned the Akashic Records before. She has downloaded a lot of galactic history from the Akashic Records and does readings for people that
she
feel their
gets
star seeds.
the knowledge experience for doing the readings. For
so
people.
You can go and explore through her. She's got a lot of knowledge and understanding there. So if anyone is listening and going, what's that?
Yeah.
Go down.
There are places to find out more.
And I'm a big fan of Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon was a famous psychic and hypnotherapist that specialised in doing past life regression and deep trance. So I've read quite a few of her books now. So again, she's a great one to explore her books on the greater understanding and knowledge of the universe, particularly going back to lost civilizations like the Atlantis civilization. Lemuria. She's done a lot of work around that. And again, when you listen to things like this, I say listen because I don't read books, I listen to books. I always say to people, you can just take what resonates.
For sure.
Not everything you read or see is going to be authentic, but if it feels like it's right, if you feel like, that makes sense to me, then go with it.
If something doesn't resonate, let it go. It will be someone else's truth.
Yeah, it might not just be part of your
Fine.
experience.
It's whatever you connect to, and that's another thing. It's not like this is the way. It's like what feels right for you, and it answers a lot of questions for people, and it allows them to step into more of themselves as well.
Yeah, 100%. And again, it goes back to, everybody is equal. Everybody's here just experiencing life and surviving whatever way suits them and whatever way they can. There's a lot of talk about star seeds at the moment and in the media and particularly spiritual side of things, but they're no more important than anybody else. It doesn't matter where your soul's been or whether it's been predominantly based on the earth or angelic souls. They're all equal. They're all equal, and that's part of what we teach.
I love that. So when you work together, what does that look like?
Well, we mainly,
where do we start?
Where do we start? Well, we host spiritual and healing retreats, which we call spiritual alignment retreat and training, which is a combination of personal healing and spiritual training and
teaching the basics of shamanic practice.
Yeah, so
really.
that you can do it for everyday life. And we've done quite a few of those now. We've done 10 or something. But,
So we do these as weekends. We did we've done them in Leeds over winter. We do them out in nature in North Lincolnshire over summer, in some beautiful lands that have a stone circle on a farm of a client of mine's.
People have amazing results from that.
Yeah, really incredible. And again, it doesn't matter what level you're at, whether you're just spiritually curious or whether you've been practicing for a while, even if you're beyond us. We just create a space, an environment. We create ceremony to allow you to just really focus on your spiritual connection and focus on taking yourself into the next part of that journey. And again, we just create the right environment, the right space. We support people in that. We hold the space and we teach them the tools to be able to take it further.
Yeah, we often fill in the gaps of knowledge that we have, that we know. A lot of people ask questions and we fill in what we understand, and it can join the dots for people. But we also do joint healings for people. That's quite fun, which we call twin flame healings. But it could be a bit misleading, but...
and that's really, both of us healing together. We just come from different aspects essentially in the healing, so you get a balance of the masculine and feminine energy, and it just allows us to get a real kind of deeper healing, doesn't it, really? And with the shamanic side of healing, people get what they need, not necessarily what you want. You get what you need at that point in your journey, really. People come to us when they need it. We've wrestled with this a lot, really, and we get taught in shamanic practice that you can't force healing. People have to make the decision. They have to want healing. And I'm a firm believer that people are in suffering or in healing, nothing in between. You've got to make that choice to step out of suffering into healing. Doesn't mean you're going to get fixed instantly. It means that's where you're going to be able to go on that journey to find it. In that moment where I had my kind of decision of like, right, I need to fix this. And so we just recognize now that people come to us at the right time when they need us, and they'll get what they need. So we can do 2 healings in the same day, half an hour apart. One could be the most incredibly intense galactic stuff coming through, dragons, you name it. And the next could be fairly mundane, fairly straightforward.
That's just what they need.
But that's just what they need. And we wrestled with that for a while, like, why was that so intense and that one wasn't? Are we doing something wrong? It's like, no, actually, it's just what they needed.
That person didn't need that, wouldn't have helped them. But they needed to clear this stuff first, and they need to be brought in this way. But what the useful thing with us as well is we have our own one-to-one sort of healing therapy practices, but we can have clients come to one of us and then go to the other one. So we go, say someone's come to me and I feel like I've taken them one avenue, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe they need the hypnotherapy next, or they need Chris's energy and his healing, or whatever, and vice versa. Chris does hypnotherapy and he goes, right, it's time to bring you in. I don't know anything about this person.
Side of things.
And it can give confirmations of stuff, and it's taking things from different angles. So people are getting really deep transformational work when they get both of us as well, because that's really fun and enjoyable to see people's transformation through that. And
particularly to be able to work together with people, and we'll talk about what they're going through, but then we'll be getting information from our guys as we're talking, we'll get realizations. And when we work with individuals, we get a greater insight into collective consciousness and things that are going on collectively for people at the moment as well. So, we have fun with it, really. I mean, we know people that say, oh, I want to be in a relationship with somebody really spiritual. It'd be too much for me. I like to feel grounded when I'm not working. But we absolutely love it. Like,
I wouldn't change it.
We sat in bed and we just start having a conversation about something, and that'll lead into getting information, downloads from guides and new concepts coming through and information, or we'll be driving somewhere bored and we go, let's do an Ask Chris's Guide session.
I wouldn't want a boring 3D man. Not for me.
You were clearly brought together in a very powerful way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we know that that's our purpose. It's what we're doing on Sirius B. We saw ourselves doing a spiritual teaching, helping people ascend. And what's really funny as well is that we're connecting with people we're incarnated with then, teaching then, now.
Yeah, they're coming. All the mermaids are coming to us, and they go, "I'm so connected to water." And I'm like,
and it could just literally be in the middle of a conversation, they'll mention mermaids or something or water, and we're, and I had a lady come and see me, and she put the blue blanket on. It just felt like a mermaid tail. I'm like, yep, knew it. Or they'll have a tattoo of a mermaid or something. It's like, yeah, you're one of our
People,
previous trainees from Sirius B coming back.
How remarkable.
yeah, so interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, I just love this work.
If you look into the concept of star seeds, and Dolores Cannon talks a lot about this, about the souls coming from other dimensions of the universe, is to help the earth ascend, to help people step back into their spiritual selves again, and to rebalance the earth back into a spiritual way of living, a more authentic way of living, experiencing life on the earth, and connecting back to earth and nature. And so we know that's a big part of our journey and our experience on earth, is to do that in this life. And we're just enjoying doing it, really. Enjoying helping people step into their purpose, whatever that is, whether it's to become a shamanic practitioner or a healer or a medium, or whether it's just to use that as a way to find their true purpose, whether it's you want to get into theatre and education, or you write books or write children's books, or support people through healing, or support people through end of life, or in whatever way that
to find their own personal calmness, serenity, and joy.
100%.
Fulfillment, all the good stuff. This is why we're here, is to experience. And a lot of people that align with being a starseed, they sometimes go, I don't want to be here, I want to go back home, but
I feel homesick.
Why am I here? Earth is rubbish, Well, actually, you chose to be, and it can be challenging. And I'm not saying it's okay when things go wrong and people are bad to us. I'm not removing responsibility. However, we came to Earth to learn. It's the hardest place, one of the hardest places in the universes to be in, because it's physical and very dense, and there's a lot of suffering. And but it's only the beings of the most hardcore beings come to Earth for a specific reason, and with the pain comes intense physical pleasure that we don't get in spirit world. Like, we know what it's like to be in spirit, but we don't necessarily know what it's like to be incarnated as a human. So if you can navigate the challenges with love and keep coming back to yourself, even through those challenging times, and look back and reflect of how much you've grown, hopefully that can help those people that are going. And I understand when you're going through the most atrocious things, I want to minimize real suffering, deep suffering. Everything's relative, but being here is a gift. And if we can tune into that, then the more it can assist us when we're feeling like hopeless of why the hell am I here?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of spiritual teachers and experts out there in the media will talk about Earth being like the highest level of teaching. It's like you're not in preschool, you're not in high school, not even in university anymore. You're beyond that. You're doing your PhD now by being on Earth, which is quite an interesting concept.
Well, a lot of humans then, once they've been on Earth a number of times, they don't need to go anywhere else, and they ascend, whatever that means. It's hard to get our human brains around, but it is right, this is the last push. Like when you're giving birth, it's that last push.
That's very welcome.
And I think the thing I say is, like, a lot of people, they're desperate to be in the spirit all the time. They're desperate to be, in their spiritual selves. And like Tasha said, we chose to come and incarnate on the earth. So we've got to experience everything physical as well. Like,
don't disappear off into
we've got eternity to be back up in the spirit realm, whatever we perceive that to be. Just experience. And just take it as it comes, really.
It's important.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people can disassociate being human and just go, once they awaken and disappear off. And it is important. So part of the work that we do is to ground people, bring them back into the earth. But have that also awareness of that. It is there. All these beautiful things are there for you, but focus on you being a human, because you are human.
Enjoy that for short term.
Wow, this has been amazing. I'm just fascinated, in awe, so interested at a really deep level at these conversations. I've loved every second of it.
Amazing.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
giving us the space to share our story
Yeah.
as well.
Oh,
It's an honour.
just been a complete delight. I'm privileged to have been able
Probably
to
scratch
witness
the
it.
surface as well, to be
Yeah,
fair.
there's more, but that's
Maybe there'll be time to come back. We'll have to
Part
see.
two.
Yay! Yeah, who knows?
Next
It could
part,
become a
yeah.
series.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, guys.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you for
Really
having us.
appreciate it. Carry on doing what you're doing.
Thank
Thank you so much. Thank you.